Okay, I really hope that we get some comments in. If I'm actually going live, somebody let me know. We have had some technical difficulties on the way up here. Okay, I really hope that we get some comments in. If I'm Let me pause that. That's amazing. Okay, this is happening. Hi, I'm Emily Litzel. I'm an astrologer. You're at Love Money Venus Live, which is one of my favorite things to do streaming. I have a good friend, Market Moonlord, Jason Alexander, who got me into this. And it's one of the most fun. Hi, Jason. I did it. I had to use a totally different software. So we're going to have some difficulties when it comes to charts, but I think I'm going to be able to tell you guys like kind of the beginning gist of what's going on, especially what's coming up with December. Those of you that have watched me for a really long time know that I've been teasing this astrology for a while, and I've actually been working on it for maybe since July, trying to figure out exactly what's happening with December, because it is absolutely it's so much. Okay, there's a new moon solar eclipse, a total eclipse in Sagittarius. There's a Venus Pluto conjunction happening in Capricorn that's happening at the same degree that it happened the last time there was a Venus Pluto conjunction. And then on top of that, Venus is going retrograde at the same degree and then going back over some of these places. The Venus retrograde has caught a lot of astrologers as looking at a potential market crash issue for a few reasons. You have not only Pluto, the planet of like rebirth and transformation, which always has historic effects on the market. Hold on, let me pull this up real quick. How are we doing there, guys? Hi, Tom. Okay, good. If I have Jason's approval on the audio and the video, then I know I'm doing okay because he would tell me if I wasn't. I know that for sure. Let me get to. Thank you for your patience. I kind of had to like get everything going a little last minute. So on top of Venus and Pluto going conjunct in Capricorn, the retrograde in Capricorn is significant for a lot of reasons. Pluto in Capricorn has coincided with some of the most outrageous abuses of power that we've seen in our lifetime. It first went retrograde right around the housing crash in 2008. And we all got to witness what Wall Street got away with after that point and being kind of like there had been malfeasance and bad action. Enron happened before that, but I think that was a real wake-up call that there was a situation where Wall Street would be able to get away with just about any amount of fraud that they thought was appropriate and have the government back them out. So it's like really, I feel like a turning point of where we started to get a sense that the decks were stacked against us. Capricorn, the sign of establishment, has favored police, the government. The abuses of power are going within the structures that we kind of like answer to. And they are also going capitalism. There's been actually argument about whether or not Capricorn and capitalism should be put together as closely as they are. I say yes, because this always has big effects on what's happening with Wall Street. So when Pluto's going retrograde, even without Venus's intervention in Capricorn, it is taking with it the upper hand that's been given to the establishment for this entire time. Venus is going to take her benefic powers and put them to whoever had been on the flip side of these abuses. So in this case, especially with like Wall Street or the market makers and how they're working, right now we have this massive movement of Wall Street bets and the Ape Nation, all of them coming together to find the most heavily shorted stocks that are out there. Stocks that are being shorted into like the seventh circle of hell, just like all the way down, and then pushing a lot of money and a lot of interest into them to try and take on the bears and see if you can wipe them out, because we found that this practice is being manipulated in so many ways that the businesses that are getting shorted like this really don't have a chance if enough money and enough like dark pool activity is levied against them without the people standing up in this way. A business could very easily go completely bankrupt. And if the business does go bankrupt, the shorts never have to buy back the shares that they had originally shorted. They don't have to cover anything. They just get all that money and they get to take it and run. So there's a really big conflict of interest. Okay. There's a lot of financial benefit that can come into them being able to finish, like, to get these shorts all the way through. So we all know that there's been a big movement from the people to fight that in any way that they can, wherever they can. And it's been really effective because we're seeing these cycles of these super shorted stocks going in big booms all over the place. The power and the manipulation that's needed, that's been needed to hold these stocks down, I think when Venus goes retrograde on that Pluto point, they lose that upper hand. And something's going to happen to take away a lot of those resources, because after that point, it looks like it just looks like there's so many, there's Can everybody see it?
Not yet.
Okay, let's see.
Oh, there you go.
Yay! I super apologize for that. My husband just ran up to be like, babe, you just went dark. Okay. So I am not entirely sure where I was when I dropped out. If anybody could like give me okay, Mars South Node conjunction. This is where the market crash comes in. So Venus and Pluto is obviously showing like some massive spikes that are going to be happening for the stocks that are pulled out. So I have my friend Monty like in the chat right now. You see him, see Monty 92. He showed me a new stock whose chart I looked at called Prague, like Progenity. Is that what it is? But it's trading under Prague. They actually have, this is like their Pluto return that it's going to be going back to. This is going to be hitting on top of their Pluto. So another meme stock that's being called out in this massive wave of financial upheaval. You know, anytime Pluto is represented in a money house, like if we saw it in the second house, we would say that that's kind of like pointing to rags to riches scenarios. Okay. Big wealth coming in, absolutely nothing, you know, being left in like the most state of impoverished. So it is absolutely beyond reason that Venus and Pluto are going to conjunct with everything else that's happening without showing some kind of like turning of a situation. So one of the things we can watch on the way up to it is who's really thriving, who's doing good, who's not. Where is this crash going to come into? Because the Mars South Node conjunction has the 1901 bank crash, It has 87. This is the body count of Mars South Node conjunction. 87 Black Monday, Wall Street crash, 9/11, and the days that the market went down afterwards were during a Mars South Node conjunction, the 2008 market crash, and the February 2020 COVID market crash. Okay, this does not come around without ungluing the markets in every way that it can. So we're seeing that something is happening that is going to lead to either like a shutting down of the markets or a massive loss of capital. And I think from what I'm starting to see coming up, it's going to have something to do with the housing market. There's been some, Prague is like a really big deal. Prague is going to be a really big deal somehow adding into this. And I really wish I could pull up the chart because there's enough astrologers here now to see that it's just extraordinary. And Jason, I'll send it to you because it's really kind of like, they have a lot coming up. There's no chance it wasn't done by an astrologer. I'm super impressed with it. But moving into, what was I talking about? I completely can't remember. Housing market. Okay. So there's been, I think Bloomberg and Financial Times and a couple of other publications have brought up that traditional wealth management isn't getting utilized by millennials. And especially property owners, homeowners lately have been feeling more empowered to take over their wealth on their own. And a lot of them have been pulling equity from their homes in like a mass movement, very similar to 2008, to invest into crypto, because that is becoming like the place that you go to for big booms and big riches and everything else that's going to go on. But in December, we're going back to Jupiter and Pisces. And the one of you, or the crowd of you that was following along since last time Jupiter went into Pisces around May of this year, crypto had a devastating crash. It was down like 40% in a week. Just terrible, slid all the way down and almost immediately corrected itself when Jupiter went back into Aquarius after retrograde. So it's a pretty strong indicator that it's probably not going to do as well. So at the same time that we're getting this market crash aspect, we're going to be rolling into a Jupiter and Pisces period, which is likely going to have at least some effect on crypto. There's the chance that it could be a beneficial run this time because it didn't hit the last time Jupiter went over those degrees in Pisces. I don't know. I really doubt it. I doubt that it's going to be a beneficial time for crypto. I think you're going to see a lot of over leverage start going crazy. And I think that you're going to see maybe not immediate defaulting on loans, but things that are going to set forward everything else that's like going to come from this point. And I cannot impress upon you how heavily favored the meme stocks and the heavily shorted, not just meme stocks. They become memes if enough of us talk about them and we spread them around and all that kind of stuff, or if they start on Wall Street bets, which is kind of like when you pick up one of these meme stocks, you're like, I tweeted this the other day, I retweeted it because I thought it was so funny. You're like picking up a new full-time job too, because you have to be that stock's hype person because you need as many eyes on it. You need like all the attention. And that's true in a lot of these situations. You have to keep people interested in any way that you can, because the people are going to be the ones that have the power to push these to a new place. And especially so many people are going to be holding by then. And honestly, I think that we're going to see some crashes and we're all going to think that we're bag holding in a big, big way. But how this leads up into a further crash, we're seeing the seeds of kind of within communities. And this is my bummer shout out, but it's happening all over the place. Dr. Michael Burry said a while ago, and everybody laughed at him, that we were in a bubble and it was a speculation bubble. And I really do think that's true, because we've had so much talk of moonshots and these like 100-time values that everything's going to go. And then we also see coins and stocks that do make these like incredible gains. We have some kind of wildly outdated ideas of where price targets should be. And we have a tendency to think that there's going to be another day that's going to come along, or we're going to wait for another month, because sometimes it's really worked for these stocks. There's going to be a lot of miseducation that's going to be pulling holders away from the wealth is going to happen and then it's going to pull back right away. And there's going to be so many that just don't know that it's time to get off, or that is it. That's their moonshot. That's life-changing money, but it may not be the money that we were talking about when we were like, the floor is 100 million per share at this point when we were really pissed off with Citadel. Now I feel like we're a little less pissed off because we're winning. Like we're actually like doing so much damage. I think they're closing out the year with a 10 billion loss, AMC and GameStop short sellers. So this is kind of where I'm going with this. Crypto right now is running as hard as it can be running, but there's a lot of indications that this is a bull market that may or may not last through the end of the year, and would probably definitely be coming to an end right around January. Do your own technicals. Technicals override everything, but it's definitely a darling of private retail investors. Crypto is the place to go. We've gotten so frustrated over and over again with what's happening in the stock market and seeing the manipulation. Although if we hadn't been through this year-long process of it, I don't know how we would have let everybody else know. Like we have been tracking and been so demoralized every time we see short ladder attacks go up or this massive amount of volume come through and nothing changes in the. We've seen it all. And because of that, and because we've kept so vocal about it, now the rest of the nation knows what's going on too. And like, unless they have nothing to do with the market, they've seen how many times, it's only a conspiracy theory until eventually it's fact if you give it long enough these days. So we, between that and not necessarily knowing that those markets aren't going to run forever because they just don't, and there's a lot of volatility, this looks like whichever has the upper hand going into it has too many people that miss the jump off point, and you start to see a massive for crypto, it could be like a big correction in market cap altogether. And we are going to follow that as we get a little bit closer into it. But from the weeks of December 15th on into the couple of weeks of January 15th, just be watching the memes and get ready to like go ham for your favorites, because there is going to be some kind of opportunity. The other thing that I'm seeing, and I have to talk out because I know that everybody's frustrated with this as a community, there's a lot more people talking about scalping and there's like a lot of inner fighting and all that kind of stuff. We do this every once in a while. We've been in a very frustrating position. I'm kind of one of the ones that's out of it. I don't know if a massive like price drop is the worst thing for us, and certainly not for GameStop. If it's going to happen anyways, I think it sometimes can be like very stalling to be at the $40 level that we are, because it's become a psychological thing, and nothing encourages these big, huge buying explosions. And when it's held this steady for this long and it has a massive dip, it always corrects. There's a reason that we're at this level of support. It's that strong. So if we do have some serious kind of like, it's a kind of a let it decay situation so that it can be reborn in like the moonshot that it's meant to be. Because for sure right now, the worst that they're doing, if they are stuck at major resistance and now moving out, like whatever that body of stocks, or if if crypto suddenly goes dark and we start to hit the middle of December and it means that are running, there's a good chance of reversal in that. By the time that Venus takes her power back and switches it over to like, this is a meek shall inherit situation. Okay. So whoever was the underdog gets their chance at top, and vice versa. Somebody has to take a tumble, and it's going to be really public, and it's going to be, it's going to be severe in every case. But I do see that this could be like a loss of wealth for some of the average Americans that are just trying to like secure their fortune too, because there's so much hype around right now. There's so much misinformation, and this is such an accessible market for so many reasons. We have so many gamified apps that the fever pitch of that could just take out a larger like portion of us than is imaginable right now, because they don't have the time that some of the OGs have had that have been here for a year that eventually learned to trade. We learned technical analysis. We had like nothing better to do but then get good at like what we've been studying. Somebody that's coming in on a top note or in FOMO or anything else like that, especially this close to the unfolding of all of these aspects, is going to be in a dangerous place, because they probably aren't going to have a chance to get their feet underneath them as quickly as they would need to. So I'm always the buzzkill on this one. I know there's even some people in the chat that are super into like that hype and all that kind of stuff. And I am too, but like it can be so dangerous because that's the same tool that they use to get us into a rug pull. Like it is the same, it's on the one hand, it's what made this movement so fulfilling. When a bunch of us were still in quarantine, we've made these massive connections. We're all fighting for a common cause that a lot of us believe in, making money along the way. It's good, but that same sort of psychological programming, it dips, buy more, buy the dip, buy high, hold no matter what, that is still the same kind of stuff that will lead us into situations that we don't have any like rational view at that point to figure out where we get out of. So once again, boring, boring, boring. I don't have any price targets. I have no idea what range is going into. I know that for AMC, a big day for them is coming in the middle of January. So it looks like something's getting set off in December that goes until about January 15th, almost exactly 30 days. And that, I would say, keep a close eye on the housing market. And whatever, I don't know what mechanism that you check to see where like loans and all that kind of stuff are going, but I'm going to have to start looking into it because we're in such a huge housing boom anyways, and drawing all of that capital with everything that's going on with the economy and it's never really a good idea, but then YOLOing into this crypto market with that money from where it's coming is really just such a worrying trend to be watching be established. But we're here for abundance. We're here for wealth. Best of luck to everybody. If you have taken that massive jump and you've got the equity out of your home and you're already in, there are still just as many sources of valid information. Just don't let greed get you so carried away that you lose the opportunity to actually change your life. That could be the difference of depending on where you're starting from, and you only take like 10,000, like 10 times off $1,000 trade. That's still such a big deal compared to what you have. If you're holding out for 100 times on every single thing, that is really going to narrow your choices of where you're going to hit. That's only going to happen every once in a time, with the assets that you have. So it's still important to be balancing your own psychology, knowing when it's time to really hold and press for something better. And then also letting yourself have some times where you take your 50% and you go, because it's a really good gain. Don't always have to hold out for the maximum what you're going to post on Reddit so everybody sees what you did. Keep yourself a little bit humble and close to the ground. That's going to do a lot for you. And I think that's all I have without charts. I had a bunch of charts to show you guys as far as what was going to be happening. We'll be going through December more as it comes, but there are definitely trading decisions. Everybody that's in crypto, keep your eyes about you at the end of November. The full moon at the end of November looks like it's a really good situation for crypto and everything else. I'd say the first week or two of December, still questionable, looks good. After that, it really gets shaky pretty quickly. So keep an eye on your coins. I would definitely keep some super cheap altcoins in the rotation, because sometimes they can break away from Bitcoin and Ethereum and even the more established ones. And they could totally be kind of in the meme movement as well, but I would really, really, really just have cold storage Bitcoin and all that kind of, just no leverage, not if you can avoid it. But that's not financial advice, and the technicals win always. That's just what's going on with the astrology. So AMC, a really big deal in January. Prague going to be doing crazy things from the middle of December. Bitcoin doing crazy things right now and going into we're still trying to figure out everything that's going on with this astrology, but it's clearly in a boom moment, and very volatile and very difficult to trade at the moment. And with the housing market, we're going to see if too much damage gets done to it and we start to lose a generation of buyers that lost their wealth in the speculation bubble that it really does look like is exposing itself. So that's pretty much all I have for you. Thank you so much for tuning in for this. Thank you, Jason, for calming me down right before and helping figure out what was going on. I'm glad I had the backup. Almost everybody in these comments, you guys, if you can just drop your Twitter handles, every single person in here is definitely somebody that I would recommend as a follow. They're all really like solid sources of information, and they are the people that I usually go to for insight before I check anywhere else or I put myself in a big like sound vacuum thing. So I think that's all I have unless anybody has any questions, but this was awesome. This is a lot of fun. I'm so grateful that you were here. I'm going to clock out now and keep updated for more of this where it came from. Okay, bye guys.